Hello and welcome to another episode of the Talks podcast. I'm your host, my name is Jess and I'm one of Tel's producers. And this week I'm joined by Rachel Mole, who is CEO of SIC. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Do you want to tell our listeners / viewers a little bit about what SIC is?
Yeah, sure. So SIC is a non-profit and our entire mission is to help close the disability employment gap within the UK. We have two arms of the business. The first is Career Support Learning Centre Hub for disabled people to access career resources that are written by disabled people who are really successful within their own industries and careers. And the second half of the business is a support centre for businesses who really recognise the value in hiring disabled talent and want to be more accessible and inclusive employers.
Okay, sweet. Thank you. So how did SIC come about? Like, how did it come to be set up? Because I understand it's not very old.
No.
Is that right? Yes.
About a year and a half now. I set it up in the pandemic. It was originally a passion project. It was going to be just a blog of my experiences as a disabled woman living in a city. And I had some people within my network reach out who were also young disabled women asking for work experience, if I would let them basically work with me in exchange for a reference and help writing their CV. So it very quickly started to become a magazine that was not just centred around my experiences, because I also found that I really didn't like being the centre of attention. It's like slowly grew then from a magazine into kind of a training platform, and that then developed into businesses reaching out saying, hey, would you mind just chatting to us about access and inclusion? We have some questions. And I decided to set it up as a non-profit then in February 21. And it's pivoted a few more times since then as we've kind of found where we are like within the market and what our offering needs to be. A year and a half later, we're still slowly getting there, but yeah, that's kind of the origin story.
Cool. It's so cool that it came out of what was for a lot of people a really horrible time as well. It's cool that it's like bloomed out of that year that we just want to forget. Yes. Do you work remotely largely then? The people that work for SIC, is it mostly remote, or you've got like a centralised office in, is it Leamington Spa, did I read?
Yes, yeah. So we've got a co-working space in Leamington Spa that is basically just available if somebody wants a change of scenery, wants to work in an office environment. But we have a small team. All of us are technically remote and on truly flexible hours. So I get Slack messages at like 3 a.m. I'm not online then, but I get them then. So we're completely flexible, completely remote working team with the option of going into that office environment if we want to.
Sweet. So what do you think are some of the benefits then of remotely working and hybrid working?
Oh my gosh, so many benefits. What a massive question.
I know.
What the pandemic has taught us anything is that literally everybody can benefit from flexible working hours and hybrid working and working from home. So, I mean, it just allows people to decide for themselves, actually, what is my energy like today? What have I got on today? And make those decisions for themselves. Disabled people absolutely benefit from that, but so would single parents, carers, people in education, people working second jobs, and so the kind of people it would help and does help is endless.
Yes, definitely. So do you think we're heading towards seeing sort of the back end of the 40-hour 9 to 5 work week?
Oh my god, I hope so.
Me too.
I hope so. I mean, to put it in perspective, I work 20 hours a week. I run a company and manage a small team on about 20 hours because I have an energy disability, and to keep myself healthy, that is my limit. That's as much as I can do. And I hope and I do think that we are slowly moving away from the idea that you are only a valuable and good employee if you are productive for like 40 hours a week. And really we should be measuring quality of work over quantity of work. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. So yeah, I think
definitely.
companies are moving towards that. And I mean, there's some amazing data out there on Gen Z basically demanding that. So I'm definitely here for that.
Yeah, definitely. I think Gen Z, it's quite easy to look. I mean, I hate the whole snowflake generation narrative thing that we get. But I'm ashamed to admit that I am Gen Z. But but I do think it's a good thing that, because I know a lot of people as well, that if they're in a job that they don't like or that doesn't work for them, will say, all right, bye then. Like, if you're not going to work, if you're not going to help me, it's my life, you know, you can't like trap people into these contracts. But even just stuff like dentists, doctors, opticians, blah, 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 they're open 9 to 5. So who does that work for? And if you are one of those 9 to 5 workers, so it's
a nightmare.
Who
wants to go back into the office after going to see the dentist?
Yeah,
like,
no one, exactly.
Who wants to do that?
No, definitely not. I remember before I had my braces on, I had to have some teeth out, and I went to school afterwards, and I went to this maths lesson, and half my face was numb, and they were like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, why?" It was just the worst. Those were the days. I was never one of those kids that came, you know, people that used to go for like doctor's appointments and would come back and have a Mackey's, and it'd be like, "What the hell? Where's mine?"
Yes.
Those were the days.
I was one of those children too.
With the Mackeys or without?
Oh, with the Mackeys. I loved that.
I never did. Oh, maybe because my mum worked at a primary school, so she like, I don't know, probably cared about my education. Thanks mum in hindsight, but whatever. But I would have loved a McFlurry, I think, but whatever. It's besides the point. So the whole flexible hours remote working thing, obviously it's great for, like you say, disabled people, single parents and all the rest of it. So where do you think it's sort of come from, this, because it has been a very recent thing, this shift towards looking after your people and knowing that will ultimately look after your company?
Yeah. So to do that, I think we need to just take a step back and look actually where the idea of the productive worker came from. So we live in a post-capitalist society. For those who don't know, what capitalism is, it's kind of just like a conveyor belt of, people are born, put onto the school system, education system, churned into universities, churned into the workplace. And to have any value, you need to be a productive worker, so contributing as much to society as society put into you. And that has kind of come from our industrial age, where that conveyor belt took people into factories and it was producing a product. I think as we have slowly come into the digital age and the fact that we can work from anywhere at any time has started a shift into thinking, well, I can do this work that I've been given 8 hours to do, I can do it in 2 hours. And there's this shift of actually quality over quantity. And if you have the education and the knowledge and the expertise to do something in 2 hours rather than 8 hours, you should still be paid the same that you were going to do anyway, because it's the end product that is what has the value. And I think as Gen Z are entering the workforce in full force, they are also the first generation that has solely existed online. And I think that definitely has implications as to how employers are now having to really look at what does a working environment actually look like. Because, if I could work from a laptop on a beach, I'm going to work from a laptop on a beach.
Yeah, definitely. We've had this exact discussion in the office this morning. I was like, there's some £9 flights to like random places in Europe. Why are we not just going and like getting an Airbnb together and working in the day and then doing cool stuff in the evenings? Why don't we just go? I don't know. I just think the world has closed up so much with obviously like air travel and even stuff like the Eurostar. Central Europe is literally 2 hours away, and then once you're on mainland Europe, you can just you can go anywhere. It's so easy to see so many different places, and it's great that with remote work people can be like, well, maybe I am doing my emails on a beach. What about it? Like, I'm still sending the emails. I think it's great. Yeah. It is great.
Yeah, and also I think it's important to recognise that the pandemic has definitely helped understand that shift is absolutely possible. I don't think it started that shift. What I think it's done is just bring that shift forward. So rather than this being something that's going to happen over the next 6 to 7 years, it's brought us like right here, right now.
Yeah.
Having this conversation. So it was an inevitable conversation. But yeah, I'm really glad to see that it's kind of still taking a hold, if not tentatively, with the demands of returning to the workplace from our government.
Yes. So what are some of your hopes for sort of the next few years, both with SIC and in the world generally? What are some of the things that you're looking forward to? Yeah, speak it into the world.
Well, firstly, I think it's important that it's, as much as I would like to say world peace, I can only really speak to my lived experience as a white woman within the UK and what I want to see from the UK and our society within this kind of geographical area. And what I expect is going to happen is that inclusion and accessibility within that are going to become things that employers are going to have to do. It's not going to be something that is optional, because if they don't do it, then they're most likely going to close very quickly, because Gen Z as a generation, there's statistics that 80% of Gen Z, I think this was a study by Deloitte, said that if an organisation does not have core values of sustainability and inclusion, they're just not going to work for them. And it's not, so it will no longer be an optional thing that companies decide whether or not it's right to invest in, because if they don't invest in it, they're not going to get any talent, nobody's going to work for them, they're going to close. So that's kind of where we are aiming with SIC, is to start these conversations now, get companies realising that it's not just about disabled talent when we talk about access and inclusion, that disability is a fifth of our population, probably even more than that, that when we're talking about disability, we use a social model of disability, which is used by the UN in the UK, and that it separates impairments, so the inherent condition of the individual, with disability being the barriers that people with impairments face accessing society. And if we think about that, we start thinking about, well, who else is disabled by society? Quite a lot of people. And once you start creating inclusive work cultures and working environments that are truly flexible, are truly accessible, you start creating cultures that everybody wants to work for and work within. So yeah, no small feat, but it's part of the conversations that we're having with, companies, universities, and we're right at the beginning of those conversations, so I'm really interested to see where we'll be in 2, 3, 5, 10, 50 years' time.
Yeah, on to great things, I'm sure, because you've got a lot going on at the minute. Do you want to talk about kind of some of the projects that you're doing? Because I know you have people come and write copy for you and all those kinds of things. So do you want to talk a little bit about sort of the day-to-day at SIC, what that looks like?
Yeah, sure. So we are disabled led. Everybody who works with us has a disability, is neurodiverse, has a chronic illness, mental health illness. So it's really important for us that the voices producing the content that we use within companies, but also for other disabled people, that it's come from a voice that has the lived experience of experiencing what it's like to be a disabled person in this society. So we work with disabled people to create all kinds of content, whether it's articles on our magazine. We are building like video case studies. We run workshops where, we need voices of people who have lived experience to just explain in like a short video what a certain barrier looks like for them. And through our learning hub as well, we are slowly kind of curating content for disabled people who want to work, who are maybe already in work and really want to get a promotion, retrain, upskill, but who's kind of left out of the conversation of what that looks like. I mean, myself, I attended a state school up till year 9, and then went to a private school to do my GCSEs because the thought was they would be able to support me and my disability better. But I was never offered career advice. I was probably off sick on the day it was done, and it was just never bothered to reschedule. And what it tells me as a 16-year-old, very chronically ill girl is that, why do you need career advice? Nobody's ever going to hire you. So it was important to me that the Learning Hub was basically a career resource where disabled people can access things that are really written for them. There are 1,000 guides on how to write a CV. There really isn't anything out there on how to write a CV when you are deciding whether or not to disclose, how to explain absences, career breaks. If you do want to disclose, how to talk about your disability, how to share its strengths. That's kind of the behind the scenes operations of, why we're doing what we're doing at SIC.
Yeah, it's good. It's great to have things like that out there, and it's things that, like you mentioned earlier, you can only look at things and world events to a certain scope of like your, like you say, like I'm a white woman living in the UK, like you can only look at things a certain way. So it's probably easy for a lot of people to look at their situation and think, well, it works for me, so. But I think, well, hopefully anyway, speaking to the world, we are heading towards people being more self-aware, hopefully, with their kind of view of the world, hopefully. I think that's another thing that, so it's a big social media thing, isn't it, that people will say like, well, okay, you can have this opinion, but you need to understand where you come from with it, and people are like quick to call each other out on it as well, and it's like, oh. But what do you think about that with people now, calling each other out, or not even calling each other out because it's not always like aggressive or anything, but sort of pulling each other up on each other's worldviews and things like that?
It is interesting as a white woman. I'm very white. I'm like the palest foundation colour there is. Like image description, I've got short brown hair, blue eyes, quite tall, and I have a dynamic disability, so some days I really don't look disabled at all, so I'm able-bodied passing almost. I'm also queer, so being a part of marginalised groups as a disabled woman, as a queer woman, it is very easy for me to sympathise and understand other minorities and how that intersects across society and the barriers that other groups face. I think it's important, and what I've always tried to do is understand that different voices are absolutely needed. And if you don't create the space to listen and challenge yourself and feel uncomfortable, then you're not really listening. Because even through all of the minority groups that I belong to myself, I would never be able to really truly understand the experiences of, say, a young queer disabled black woman, because I just don't have that lived experience, and it's not right for me to use my voice to presume that I know what that's like.
Yeah.
So on social media, I think it's just an echo chamber of the conversations that we're having within our own communities, but put out into the world, where we need to recognise that there are groups of people who simply exist to systematically undermine minorities getting recognition, value and understanding from other communities due to racism, due to, just wanting to tear down people who could really shift the conversations that we are having and undermine our political systems and social systems. I think as well it's important to recognise the stereotypes that exist on social media of, so speaking as a disabled woman, of disability. I'm not a superhero, I'm not your inspiration, don't call me that, for simply existing as a disabled woman. I'm great if I'm that because of the company that I've built and the people I've helped, but if you don't know me and that's the first thing that you say to me, I'm going to have a problem with that. And if you don't have the capacity to really hold space for me and listen to me, then if I'm just there as inspiration porn for you, that's not okay.
No, yeah, definitely not. So if you had any advice for young people who might be disabled or neurodiverse or chronically ill or have mental health problems, what is your sort of advice for those people? Say young people coming into the workplace, we'll narrow the scope a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, congratulations for entering the workplace. We lack that access. That is one of the many barriers that we even face. There are companies out there, really truly are companies out there who want to be accessible and inclusive, and who are. And if you are in an organisation that treats you as a second-class citizen, who doesn't treat you right, who undermines your experience, gaslights you, who threatens to fire you for taking too many sick days or not producing work when you've asked multiple times for help, you do have the power. There is a massive retention problem within our UK workforce right now, and it is the power of the individual to say, I'm leaving. I mean, that also comes with, privilege of being able to do that financially, emotionally. So my piece of advice is always try to be upskilling and learning. Find yourself a mentor. It doesn't have to be within your company, but find yourself a mentor. And there's great platforms. LinkedIn, Meet Eric is a new Gen Z focused app like LinkedIn. And look for somebody who's where you want to be in 5 years, and connect with them and ask them for a chat and ask them to be your mentor. There's so many people out there who are really keen to give back to young people and to, mentor. So don't be afraid of putting yourself out there and just asking. The worst that can happen is they say no and you ask somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a good outlook as well, because it's easy to say, oh, well, what if they ignore me? Or what if they say no? And it's like, okay, what if they do? You've not lost anything, have you?
What if they do?
Yeah, what about it? Yeah, you're not going to see them every day, so yeah. So we're entering into sort of the last 10 minutes of this podcast, and we've entered into my personal favourite part. We ask you all the pointless questions. So if you could, it kind of ties in actually. So on remote working, if you could just up sticks and move anywhere in the world, where would you go to? Like, where have you got like a favourite place or anything like that?
Probably Italy, somewhere by the coast, purely because the food is incredible and the weather is incredible.
Yeah.
But I think that also comes with that I would also probably stay home because there is just comfort in being at home and building that space. And as somebody with an energy disability, as much as I would love to be, oh yeah, I'll do 2 hours of work in the morning and go and surf and swim.
Yeah,
and hike. Like, I'm going to do 2 hours of work in the morning and I'm going to sleep.
Yeah, fair enough. So then the ideal situation is like uproot home, bring to Italy, live in nice, like hot weather, eat pasta, happily ever after.
Yeah. Literally happy ever after.
Dreamy, yeah. Well, I'm planning, and this will happen by hook or by crook. I will make it happen. I've got this idea. We want to do this pasta tour where we fly into probably Milan because it's the cheapest. I said hotel then, airport to fly into. And we get texted another airport and a flight out in like X days time, and we have to get there and eat as much pasta as we can, and we do a pasta tour and make a video series about it. That is my plan, and I will make it happen because I've never been to Italy. I'd love to, but I've never been.
It's beautiful.
Yes, I really want to go to. I want to fly into Genoa and go to Cinque Terre. Have you seen Luca, the Disney animated?
Yeah.
Great film, love that one. But that's where that town is based on, I think, with all the like colourful buildings up. Yeah. If you look at the photos, it looks amazing. Apparently it's quite touristy now, but also apparently there's quite a few. I know, ruined. There's quite a few villages apparently on that stretch of coast that look the same as Cinque Terre, but they're not crawling with tourists, which is, the ideal situation. The other one is if you were to win the lottery tomorrow and you had one absolutely outlandish purchase, what would your outlandish purchase be?
Oh my god.
It's hard, isn't it? And this question stems from, I can't remember where I'd have been. Oh yeah, walking through the centre of York actually, and there's all these boats, like private boats that people have got. And I remember looking at them and thinking, there are so many things I will buy before I bought a boat if I was rich. So what would yours be?
Having been on one of those boats, having been on a holiday for a week on one of those boats as a young child, that would not be something I would purchase.
A week is a long time to be on a boat, to be fair.
That was a bit rough. You know what? I am a minimalist. I don't like stuff. I have what I believe to be undiagnosed OCD. That is another discussion for trying to access mental health diagnoses in this society. But stuff just stresses me out. And gosh, I sound so pious saying this, but there generally isn't. I wouldn't buy stuff. I genuinely would not just buy it for the sake of having it. Outlandish, there's just no purpose to it. Stuff does not bring you joy. Experiences do. So if it's outlandish to say, I guess it would probably be a year's travelling around the world with friends.
Oh yeah, that is a good one.
But then I wouldn't call that outlandish. I would say that was experience.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Because you can buy your helicopters and your planes and whatnot, but firstly, global warming. Secondly, you've got to then hire a pilot.
Are you really going to get out of that?
Yeah, you've got to hire a pilot, you've got to put fuel in it, you've got to store it. So it's fortunate that we're not millionaires because this is just issues we've had to deal with. So there you go. Thankfully, maybe in another life. So is there anything that you wanted to plug, or do you want to tell our listeners / viewers where they can find you on social media and your website?
Yeah, plug really is, if you are interested in working with us, in finding out about like the training and work experience opportunities that come up for disabled people, where we either like matching with companies or within ourselves. If you want to hear, what we're up to, what is going on, sign up to our newsletter. That is the first place that we put everything. You can access that through our website, www.sicofficial.co.uk. That's SIC official.co.uk. Check out the website, check out our magazine and our content. The feedback that we get is really great to hear, because it's often, wow, nobody's ever really said this before, I feel seen, which is just everything. That's really kind of what's to plug. If you're a business or you are HR and have the ear of your manager, send our website through and tell them to check out our business centre, and help us kind of spread the conversation on access and inclusion in the workplace.
Perfect, thank you very much. Well, thank you for giving up your time to come and be on the podcast. It's been lovely speaking to you. And for anyone that's listening, thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.